Hi, my name is Abby Lau, and this is my project informational video discussion. So, for my capstone project, I'm doing a creative project. Um, and for that, I'm working on further developing a curriculum for a high school equine science course. In the state of Kentucky, equine science is one of the animal systems pathway courses. And I've been teaching for 4 years, and in those 4 years, I've developed a curriculum for myself based upon the animal system standards because there's not a lot of resources already existing for an equine science curriculum, or at least nothing that I thought fit the needs of my students at the time that I've written it, am writing it, because it's a work in progress. I am primarily interested in this project because I love curriculum development. I think that it's important for teachers to remember that something you wrote 4 years ago was relevant 4 years ago, and maybe there's a better way that you can teach it now, or there's a different need for your kids that you've come across since you wrote that lesson plan, and maybe it's time to either build into your plans some differentiation or a better way of doing things. I know a lot of teachers who are very set in their ways, and confidence is good in our profession, but I think humility is better in knowing that there's always something we can do to improve our existing resources and to even help provide those resources for other people. So really that's why I'm interested in this topic and equine science in particular, just because there's not a ton of existing curriculum resources for the high school level. And I guess my end goal is to provide younger teachers especially, but maybe teachers who are teaching equine science for the first time, something that they can use, because I know how hard it was for me, especially not having a equine background, coming in and having to figure out how to teach this class. So that's my interest in the topic. As far as how I will conduct my project, I've kind of built it into my regular school day and my lesson planning anyway, in meaning that when I lesson plan and when I have my planning for the school day, which is an hour and a half block, I always take some time to reflect on the lessons I taught that day or that I've taught that week, and make some notes in what went well, what didn't go well, and even trying and finding some things to supplement the areas that I noticed that were lacking after I teach it. That way, when I come back around to that lesson plan a year from now, it's even better than it was the last time. So I build that into my day, those reflections anyway, because I'm adapting that existing curriculum. One thing in particular that I'm looking to change and edit is the scope and sequence. I really want to make sure that it is comprehensive and rigorous, and that it is set to the standards for Kentucky Animal Systems courses, and that it meets those in the lessons that it says it does. On each unit, I believe there's 8 units, if I'm thinking off the top of my head. I believe there's 8 units. For each of those, I have what's called a unit planning sheet at the beginning of it. On that, I'm going through and editing each of those and making sure that the standards do align with the lesson objectives and with the activities within that lesson. So I'm just double checking there, dotting all my I's and crossing all my T's and making sure everything that says it is covered actually is. In addition to that, I'm going through and I'm checking each of the resources within those lesson plans, making sure that that the worksheet is the right reading level for my students, or that the question that we covered is on that worksheet is the same or is relevant to what we covered in our notes the day before, type thing. Making sure that there's not a ton of gaps to ensure better student comprehension and learning. And then lastly, one of the bigger things I'm wanting to do is to write in on each lesson plan a Kagan cooperative learning strategy. My school started implementing Kagan I guess 4 years ago when I started teaching is when they had the big push for it. And I, along with a lot of other teachers, really thought at the beginning how it was very elementary and there was no way this was ever going to work. And, I had a principal who said at the time, if we do this with fidelity, it will work. And being the young teacher I was like, okay, I'll try it, do what I'm told to do. And what I found out is that those Kagan cooperative learning strategies, while some of them may not work for your classroom, there's a few that do. If you try some and you practice them with your kids, they really do increase student engagement. The thing about Kagan is with any one of those strategies, you're having 25 to 100% of your class engaged at one time, rather than one kid answering one question that I asked to a group of 30, which is something really special for me. It also increases student collaboration, so they're building those social emotional skills working together. And just through the evolution of the last 4 years and watching my kids grow through Kagan, I wanted to intentionally build one of those strategies into each lesson. So I'm working on that as well. As far as my timeline goes, let me pull it up here. I'm chunking my project by units. So every 2 weeks, I'm doing 2 units at a time. So, for example, the first one, we had our project proposal due on February 4th. On February 18th, I'm going to have units 1 and 2 finished. In that, it's updating the unit planning sheet to include clarified scopes, standards, objective statements, updating my lesson plans to include at least one Kagan cooperative learning structure, adapting content presentations to be more thorough and engaging, and revising student activities, projects, and assessments. So every 2 weeks, I have 2 units that I'm going to update until I get to Unit 8. So really in each of those, I'm going through and I'm reflecting, I'm looking at everything and making observations, and then actually going in and making the edits where I deem them necessary for making the curriculum more comprehensive and rigorous. So, how can this help me personally and professionally? Personally, working on curriculum development kind of builds my confidence and my creativity. I've noticed this year, especially now that I'm figuring out how to be a teacher and balance all the things, in year 4, that I'm getting a little comfortable, and I don't like that. I like being able to pull my lesson plans up and teach because I've done that same lesson for 3 years, but I don't like that at the same time. I like having to be creative and challenging myself too. So personally, this project is doing that for me. It's helping me find my love for curriculum development again, and challenging myself to be better than who I was 4 years ago when I started writing this curriculum. So professionally, same thing. I've always been passionate about professional growth. I know a lot of teachers don't normally say that, but I like trying to be the best teacher that I can be. So through this project, that's kind of the whole point of it, I think, is coming up with something to better serve my students. And in turn, maybe my students will learn a thing or two and go on and share that knowledge with somebody else down the road. Additionally, professionally, I mentioned before sharing this with other young teachers. Our profession is hard, and having 5+ preps is not something that a lot of other disciplines or teaching disciplines can relate to. So anything I can do as one ag teacher to another to hand somebody something, a resource, and say, here's this, I put in the work, I want you to take it and adapt it for your kids and make this work for you. I would consider that an honor, because I wish I would have had a little bit more of that when I started teaching. Our job is hard, so helping out other ag teachers is something professionally that would make me feel pretty good. So Anyway, that's my capstone project, updating, revising, improving an equine science curriculum for Kentucky high schoolers, and hopefully we can get all 8 units done before the semester's out and we have to present. So, thanks.